You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from OnV Invest. For more information, go to onvinvest.com.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of RE Social Podcast. Today, we have a super cool guest. We've been trying to talk to her for a while now. It's Sarah Weaver, the author of 30 Day Stay. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super stoked. Most of this podcast is going to be just selfish for just Drew and myself. We just want to know how this works. We're transitioning from, a lot of long-term rentals to short-term, and then we're really looking into MPRs right now. But before that, for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give a little background about yourself, maybe 90 seconds?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Weaver. I'm a real estate investor, a real estate coach, and avid traveler. I have been fully nomadic for 4 years, and I own a travel company called Invested Adventures, where I take real estate investors on adventures all over the world.
That is so cool. We actually had one of my best friends. I know the guy for 20 years, Prashant. The episode's called Digital Nomad, and that's what he does. He has a W-2 job, and he travels for about 6 months out of the country, and then he just stays in the US for 6 months. Kind of cool.
It's super fun.
Were you always passionate about this traveling? I know Drew is super passionate about traveling, so he probably hit you with a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I studied abroad when I was 19 and just caught the bug and ended up calling my parents from Italy and saying, "Hey guys, sorry, I lied. I did not buy a round trip ticket. I bought a one-way and I'm not coming home."
Wow. That is so cool. And how did real estate play into this portion? So you love traveling, and then you found a tool in real estate to support that lifestyle. Is that how you did it?
Absolutely. Real estate has always kind of been a whisper in my story. My parents have worked for new construction homes. My mom's cleaned new construction. So I grew up playing on dirt piles at new builds, like at construction sites. But it wasn't until, of course, years later that I got into real estate myself. And I realized that I could buy real estate anywhere in the country while living anywhere in the world. And so super grateful for amazing real estate agents on the ground who make that possible by helping me build out an on-the-ground team. And then I just keep traveling.
That is so cool. I've read the book, obviously, and I also listened to it on Audible, which is kind of fun. It's kind of hard to track if you're talking or, what's the other person, your friend? Viana. So I'm like, whose life story is this? I can't keep track. But it was super fun to listen. But I want to hit up some big points. Before we start, though, how many units, properties do you have under management?
I have 19 units in 4 states. I invest in Kansas City, Omaha, Nebraska, and Des Moines, Iowa. They're all small multifamily duplexes and fourplexes. And then I have 1 single family.
Okay. And then do you have partners you partner with?
I own 5 of them on my own, 5 buildings. I don't even know how many units that equates to, but I own 5 of the properties on my own. And then 3 of the properties I own with partners.
Oh, that's cool. That's what Drew and I do. We pretty much own most things together, and we have partners on a lot of them. Fun fact, Drew grew up in Kansas, and I went to school in Wichita, Kansas too. So you have...
Oh, look at that. I wrote for the Wichita Eagle for a semester.
Really?
That's my journalist claim to fame. It's the largest newspaper in the state of Kansas.
Funny story. I wrote for Sunflower in Wichita. I used to work for them.
What a small world.
I know. I used to sell ads for them too.
Andrew, where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Kansas, just north of Wichita, actually, in a little tiny town called Madison.
Yeah, gosh, I know it.
Nobody knows Madison. They ask me, where are you from? I'm like, you're not going to know. Oh, that's great.
That is such a small town. That's so funny. I grew up in Overland Park. So For people
Nice.
not from the Midwest, it is like any suburb of any city. They all look the same. I thought when my friend said, "Oh, I live in DC," I thought, "Oh, wow, that's so cool. You probably have met the president. You like go to the Capitol all the time." No, she lived in like a tiny town in Virginia. Her like nearest Target was like 45 minutes away. I was like, "Wait, you live in Virginia?" And I have to say I live in Kansas, but yet I live in kind of a metropolis.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, Kansas City is a whole different thing.
Oh yeah, well, the
Exactly.
Pinot district, all that stuff. Hey, so quick question on can you explain to the listeners what is a midterm rental? People have heard of long term regular rentals. People have heard of short term Airbnbs. What is a midterm rental?
Absolutely. A medium term rental is a furnished rental, just like a short term rental. The difference is that your tenants or guests are going to stay 30 days or more. And so, why that matters is a lot of cities and municipalities are really cracking down on short term rental regulations, meaning they're actually telling people you can't rent out this home on Airbnb for 2 or 3 night stays. And so, one of our ways around that regulation is by catering to tenants who want to stay 30 days or more. That tends to be the kind of magic number around the regulations. And then why I love it is I like having less turnover. When I have a tenant move into my unit, they're on average staying 92 days. And that means about 80 something days of just peace, meaning they move in, maybe the first couple of days, they have questions, or obviously I need to communicate with the cleaner to get it unit ready or to get it rent ready. And then I need to communicate with the tenant to tell them how to get into the unit. Of course, this is all automated now through Hospitable, but I'm still making sure, did the cleaning happen? Did the cleaner get paid? Is the unit in perfect and pristine condition for them to move in? Then after about a couple days, they're like set. They know when trash day is, they're handling trash. They know how to use the coffee machine. They're good. And then it isn't until a few weeks before they move out that I even start looking for a new tenant. And so I find this as a way to get more cash flow than a long-term rental, but far less administrative headache than a short-term rental.
Yeah, that's perfect. Follow-up question. So your average day is 90 days. So can you have two other tenants who just stayed for a day each? So your average is still 30 days?
So what I'm doing is I'm tracking how long they're staying for. So typically I have a nurse will move out. I actually had a turnover. I have a turnover tomorrow. And so a tenant is moving out, and then I actually have a new tenant moving in same day. And so in some of my units, I'm actually 100% occupied.
Oh, okay. So I see. So you're so booked up, you don't even care. But I was asking, can you get in a couple of short-term rentals because your average has to be 30 days, right? Is that accurate? For tenant?
You mean for like 30 days average? What do you mean?
So, like midterm is 30 day or longer. An Airbnb, you can do like, a short-term rental is a 1 day, right? So I wanted to know is it per tenant or is it the average? So if you have 12 tenants and then you had, for a year, that means your average tenant stays for a month. So can you still cut the loss a little bit on that or not really? You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
Okay.
You lost me too, man.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
No,
I'm like, I'm missing something.
Sorry.
And no, that doesn't make sense.
no, yeah. So the average, is it a tenant has to stay for 30 days or is it just anyone you get in there has to be for 30 days?
No, I mean, my tenants can stay as long as they want. I'm just saying that I track my tenants. My tenants are staying 90 days, 92 days on average. That's like when I track it. Because last year in 2021, 47% of my medium-term tenants actually extended to 6 months.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Then you have I love it when they send me that text, can I extend? I'm like, yes, you can. Because then I don't have to find another tenant. I don't have to do a cleaning. I don't have to mess with vacancy or any admin time. They're just staying for a whole 6 months. And so now this year, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just kind of asking, I'm assuming you probably send them some kind of contract or lease before. And then do you have to renew that or some kind of admin work to extend that?
Absolutely. So if they booked through Airbnb, then they are just changing their request or reservation within Airbnb. So they're actually handling that. And then I just click accept, accept alteration is what it's called. And then if they signed a lease, meaning they didn't come through Airbnb, then yes, I'm sending them a 1-page addendum, which I have a template. It's all electronic signature. I type in their name, type in the new date, and send it over to them.
Nice. That's awesome. So I'm kind of curious. You don't send them any kind of contract, nothing in writing, if it's through Airbnb. Does Airbnb send them a contract, or how does that work?
So the way Airbnb works is they have something called air cover, and that's their policy to protect you, the host, as well as the guest. And so, for example, there was something that was broken in one of my units. I asked the tenant to fix it. I sent them a request. I think I sent them a request for like $42. They rejected it and then sent the request to Airbnb. They accepted it, and then Airbnb wrote me a check. And so that's what Airbnb uses, is this kind of policy called air cover. And so I don't do an additional lease outside of Airbnb if they booked an Airbnb.
Got it. So you're not worried about squatters or someone overstaying?
No, I'm not.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, we still have to worry about it, bro. We live in Orange County, California. So once you do more than 28 days, they have squatter rights in California.
Yeah. So
that's why I don't invest in California, you guys.
I know a lot of people. I know everybody tells us that we might get out at some point, but we're moving to more higher income socioeconomic areas, so sort of getting a little better. I have
that's what I find. That's what I find with the medium term tenants is like a tenant paying $8,000 a month to live in your unit. They likely have somewhere they need to be next month. When they say that they're moving out on January 2nd, it's because they got to be somewhere after that, especially if they're a traveling nurse. And so the likelihood of a medium term tenant overstaying their stay is so small.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what that's our idea as well. So for the medium term rentals, Sarah, I wanted to ask you, how much more money are you getting compared to an LTR? I know from the book you said 2 to 3 times, which sounds a little crazy for us because my home can rent for $6,000, $7,000. There's no way I can get 12 or 18,000. So, and then what is the number, and where do you find the comps for that?
Yep. So I am on average getting 2.25 times more. So I will rent my unit long term. And this is let's just use a 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm able to get $850 for long term. And that is top of the market. Most of my comps for that unit are about $700 to $750. I'm getting $850 because it's very beautifully upgraded and a really nice neighborhood or great location. That same 1-bedroom, 1-bath, the unit below it in the same fourplex is renting for $1,875 to a medium-term tenant.
Okay, so that is great news for us because we are dying with these LTRs in California, and all of the properties are like, you're probably picking them up like for like $150, $200 a door, right? Our average is like $400,000 a door. So
not even. I think I got that one at, what's the math, like $72,000 a door.
See, you're playing the game right. We're not. We're like buying properties at like a toilet is $100,000 in California. So our question is, so your market, it works 850 to the 1670 because you're still doing the average, 3 times or 1/3 their pay and stuff. So, but when you come to our market, 3-bedroom will rent for $3,000. I doubt that I could get $9,000 from a nurse. So how would you do that? Like, how would you navigate that? Do you put 2-3 nurses in the same house?
So what I'm seeing work really well in your area is having an ADU, an attached dwelling unit, and then renting that out to a traveling nurse. So maybe you have a long-term tenant in the main house, or even it's your main house, it's your primary, and then using an ADU to rent that out to a traveling nurse. I have an investor in Sacramento, so obviously it's not Los Angeles, but in California, and he is essentially house hacking a house by having his house, his primary, split into 2 different units. So now it's a duplex. He has a tiny house parked in kind of the back part of the lot with its own entrance. And he actually rents that out to traveling nurses. And then I know Rob Abastolo does the same thing with his ADUs or tiny houses in Los Angeles as well.
And then are they getting twice the long-term rent?
Absolutely.
Oh, you'll love this story. So Drew and I live like 2 minutes from each other in Costa Mesa, Orange County, and both of our houses have ADUs and they're both rented out, and we live in the main house. That's how we do it too.
See, I know a thing or two about real estate, you guys.
I know. So Drew, look at that, dude. Like we could, if we could get twice our rent, we're buying a Porsche next week. Yeah. So that's, so we calculated, we're doing our numbers on 50% more on LTR. That's how conservative I'm playing. But I know I've read your book. It said 200%, right? That seems to be. So do we have to, so what if we have a 2-3 bedroom house somewhere in like Inland Empire and stuff? Do you recommend, people might, listening might be like, hey, I have a 3-bedroom house, Sarah. So what do I do? Like, do I get a nurse probably doesn't want 3 bedrooms, right?
It's really interesting. I'm seeing a lot of inquiries for 2 bedrooms because they're either bringing another nurse with them. So 2 nurses are bunking up and then just saving that money because again, a lot of them are doing travel nursing. One, because they probably like to travel. They want to experience different locations across the US, but most likely they're doing it for the money. The money is fantastic. For example, in Kansas City, a staff nurse might make $32 to $36 an hour. A traveling nurse in that same hospital is going to make $117 to $130 an hour.
What? I didn't know that. That's more than what I make. That's crazy.
Yeah. I just got off the phone with a real estate investor in Phoenix, and she's also a traveling nurse. She's making $3,500 a week.
Wow.
So rule of thumb, do you suggest, let's say I got a 2-bedroom, it runs for $2,200 all day, every day. Should I just list it at $4,400? Or do you look at some kind of comps on Furnish Finders?
What I like to do is I like to go to furnishfinder.com/stats, STATS, and look up information there. Then the second step is to look at Furnish Finder as if you're a tenant looking for a place in your area. And then I go as far, you guys, I message hosts, like other hosts, and I say, hey, my name's Sarah. I'm an investor. I'm looking at purchasing a property. Just curious, like, how is it going? Like, are you occupied? Are you glad you listed this property on Furnish Finder? Are you really getting $3,750? Because that's what you have it listed for. And I'm actually reaching out to hosts that way as well. And just like anything, 70% of them don't respond, but 30% of them do. And I'm getting an answer. And even later on, like building a relationship with them and building a vendor list so that we can share contacts.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. I've read that, I've heard of that concept, but I've not done that myself of reaching out because we're considering now with a lot of our turnovers, we're just turning it over as normal, but then we're going to furnish it, get it up on Furnish Finder, medium term. And so building the ecosystem is a key, building your team is make or break. So that's really great. I'm absolutely stealing that advice, reaching out to vendors and just like, if 1 in 10 says something, it's great. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of curious. Can I back up a little bit? I want to know about, and I've read your book as well, but just for, I guess, maybe the listeners, what's been your journey? Did you start with short-term rentals, or like how did you even get in the game? And then what's the maybe the Cliff Notes version of how you started and where you're at today?
Absolutely. So out of the 19 units that I own, 10 of them are long-term rentals. And so half my portfolio is still long-term. I love long-term rentals and I love medium-term rentals. And so what happened was I bought a fourplex. It was my 3rd house hack. So I house hacked 2 years later, house hacked again, year and a half later, house hacked again. So it was my 3rd house hack and it was a fourplex. All 4 units are 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I had 3 inherited tenants, all long-term, and I moved into the upstairs unit. I, of course, furnished the unit because I lived in it. And then I put it on Airbnb thinking, oh, it'll rent on the weekends and I'll go stay at my grandparents' house or I'll go travel. To my surprise, it was fully booked right away with a traveling nurse. In that same month, my tenant downstairs left in the middle of the night, like just packed up all their stuff and left. Ended up being the best blessing because they had a nonstop barking dog that was really ruining my Airbnb experience for my guests upstairs in my unit. And so I quickly cleaned and furnished that unit downstairs. And then I had 2 units that were fully occupied by travel nurses. I thought, holy cow, this is amazing. At the time I started at like $1,200 a month. Then next thing I know is renting for $1,600 a month. Now I'm at $1,875. I ended up buying the 4-plex next door and then slowly started issuing notice of non-renewals to those tenants, got all of those tenants out, and then furnished all 4 units there. And now 7 of the 8 units are all furnished and they're all traveling nurses.
I am so excited to be talking to you right now because we have been investing professionally for 5 years, raising capital with partners and just making it happen, and all of our partners have been taken care of, but there's been a 0% return for us. And so our big move in 2023 is to take a lot of our long terms and start flipping them. So I've been doing the Airbnb thing for a minute, and hospitable is amazing. Getting your cleaner, thank God. Once you have that set, I barely know what's happening anymore. I check, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fully booked, all 5 units, great. But what I want to do is just like take that times 10 to get. I mean, if you saw our equity, you'd be like, oh, okay, these guys are crushing it. But if you saw our cash flow, you're like, whoa, that's a tight ship you guys are running. So,
well, let me be very clear on the opposite. If you saw my appreciation, you'd go, wah, wah. Like,
right.
But that wasn't my goal. My goal wasn't to invest for appreciation. They have appreciated. Thank you, 2020. Sure. Like they have appreciated. But my number one goal was I wanted cash flow so that I could quit my job. And I thought it would take 5 years. I did it in more or less 2.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And that's part of why I do like the areas we invest in Orange County and Riverside County here in Southern California. The appreciation is wild. It's really great. It's better than just about anywhere you can be. So that's nice. Like I sleep at night knowing like, okay, it's all going to be okay. End of the day, like we can refi and HELOCs, whatever. But that cash flow month on month, we're always pushing it, trying to make things happen. Try to talk to our vendors like, hey man, electrical is going to cost us $9,000. Can you like cut me a break? So literally a phone call we just had. So I'm very excited to talk to you and kind of pick your brain selfishly for sure. And by the way, thanks for making that book happen. It actually kind of came at a perfect time because now I've been noticing the short-term game is like everyone's kind of like putting the spotlight on it. And so it's now getting oversaturated and it's also getting regulated heavily. We just got a notice not long ago saying, hey guys, what are you doing? You can't do a short-term rental here. We're like, all right, you got it. So now we're pivoting hard to medium. So it's like your book came out at like literally the perfect time. We were already thinking about it. We were already considering how we're going to do that. And the book is helping a lot in kind of getting us to that quickly. Do you have any tips? Have you had to make that move yourself or went from short term to medium term? Any advice for someone doing that?
Yeah, what I recommend is just really understanding who you're going to rent to. And so one thing I wanted to mention is for these larger 3-bedroom homes, you can target insurance claims. And so especially in Los Angeles, you guys are very heavily populated. Anyone who is displaced from their home, whether it be fire, flood, whatever the reason, they can't live in their home anymore, their insurance company needs to place them in another property. And so if you can be on the short list for those insurance companies, that's when you are going to see vents. I mean, $7,000 a month, because that's what the insurance companies will pay.
Interesting. Okay. Good pro tip. Love it.
Is there a website for that too, Sarah, or where do you go to be on that?
There's not one great resource. There's 2 that I'm playing with, and so I can't don't take this podcast episode and go, well, Sarah said. I have not had success with them, but people keep telling me to keep trying with ALE Solutions, ALE Solutions, and then corporate housing. And I believe it's corporatehousing.com. And then the best thing to do is to network with insurance companies. So find insurance relocation companies in your area and build relationships with them. Don't just call and say, hey, I want you to rent my house. He's going to be like, yeah, no shit, dude. Like everybody wants that. But build a relationship with them, show them that, hey, we will take really good care of your clients, because obviously they're in distress. Their house just burned down or is flooded or whatever happened. No one's excited when they have to use their insurance company to go move into another home. And so let them know that you're humans and you're going to take really good care of their clients and you want to be at the top of their list, and that your place is beautiful. It's fully stocked. You're not like a get rich quick scheme, but you really care deeply about your tenants. And that's the best way to build relationships with those insurance companies.
Yeah. I mean, that's a key piece of wisdom for any business venture is relationships. Kind of going back to the book, like you were talking about with that real estate agent. Find that one real estate agent, whether they're an investor or not. I like that you kind of pointed that out. It's like, well, it's all about like, can they deliver? Can they put me on a list that's not just like their normal, like, okay, automated, but like they're really curating and looking for something specific for Sarah because they know exactly what your criteria is. And that's founded on a solid relationship. So I love that. That was a really good piece of advice from your book. How did you learn these neat little tricks and tips? Like, you're very knowledgeable. Like, did you have a mentor yourself? Because there was definitely no like reading material on it at the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a combination of a few things. So I became a real estate agent in 2015. And I joke that I was a real estate agent for about 5 minutes. I had my foot out the door the entire time because I knew I wasn't going to live in Austin for very much longer. And so it's not very smart to build a location dependent sales job in a place where you don't think you're going to live. But I didn't know at the time. I followed Love to Texas, and it's a Bad Country song, and I lived it in 2015. And I became a real estate agent. And through being an agent, I know what it's like to be on the other side. And I don't want, when I'm working with real estate agents, I don't want to treat them like they're Wikipedia. It's not their job to convince me to invest in their market. I want to use them for their highest and best use, which is finding deals and negotiating deals. But all the other pieces, like analyzing deals and analyzing the market, that lays on my shoulders. And I know that because I was an agent. Then when I first learned about real estate investing, I just consumed everything that I could. And I networked a lot. So I was going to real estate meetups, like, those Friday morning breakfasts that people go to. And they're clearly, most of them are full-time real estate because they can hang out on Friday and have breakfast instead of going to work. I would attend all of those even before I really was ready, before I owned any real estate. And then I joined a mastermind. And joining that mastermind was a game changer because I just every single week was on a Zoom call, learning about different ways to finance, hearing about people's different strategies, and basically just consumed real estate investing day in and day out.
That's awesome because you saw it as a vehicle where you could create freedom for you to travel infinitely.
That, and it's fun. Like, don't you guys find real estate investors to just be so stinking fun? Like, you want to invest with them, but you also want to like go have a beer with them. And now I get to travel with them. So now I'm like going on epic adventures with other real estate investors. I think real estate attracts a really unique personality. Not all of us are like outgoing sales. There's a lot of us that are very analytical, but I think we're all attracted to real estate because we see it as a way to not work the 9 to 5 for the rest of our life.
Yeah, I can relate. I mean, anytime I meet somebody who's an investor, even with like a unit or two, it's always a different conversation. It's like they know the secret, like they got it, like they figured out like a big thing that has changed our lives. So it's a different conversation. It's like I can talk to them differently, like they're in the club, if you will. So there's definitely a club kind of vibe for anyone involved. I feel like I don't need to lecture them to get them involved. That's kind of my problem. But yeah, that's interesting. Wow. So you just like self-education, networking, again, building relationships. That's awesome. Vince, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to. I was writing down some stuff while you guys were talking. I wanted to touch on a little bit on some topics which I think are very important that Sarah and Drew mentioned. So it is that Drew was talking about how we're equity rich and cash flow poor, and then how Sarah is like very cash flow rich and equity not as rich, right? So I wanted to take a moment to kind of explain what this means and going into like a recessionary market. So between the both of us, Sarah is about 10,000 trillion times better off in the coming market than what Drew and I are at the moment, because we are very equity rich. So which means that we will lose some of our equity because the market will be correcting itself, right? And at this point, if our cash flow does not cancel out or beat our debt obligation, which is the debt service and the payments you have to pay, the insurance, mortgage, taxes, we will get destroyed. So it is very important for people to understand that you always want to make more money than you intend on servicing your debt and stuff, right? So Sarah probably has like 2 times how much cash flow, right, than your debt obligations, I assume at this point, right, Sarah? Yeah. So we are
even more than that.
Yeah. So even if half her tenants don't pay, she can still do that, right? So right now, the only way I'm just being very open right now is that we're able to do this because Drew and I make about $250,000 to a little bit more than that per year. And we're dumping all of our money into the real estate when people don't pay, right? Especially when we live in a very blue state like California. So we can't keep this going for a long time if people don't constantly pay, right? So that's why we were shifting to a model. Like we were so impressed with Sarah and Ziana's like book, and we follow you on Bigger Pockets. And this actually is giving us an out to get into and keep all of our assets. Yes, of course, we could just sell one of our houses and just be fine, right? Because that's how much equity we would have, right? But we want to keep as much as we can and then move towards a more sustainable model. Maybe put down more money. Don't buy with 15% down just because you can, right? When it was fine when our interest rate was 2%, 3%. Now we're paying 6%, right? So we're putting up 15, 20, 25, 30, 35% down. So, you're paying less to go out and stuff like that. So, it's very important, guys, to realize these things. These things are what will make you lose your home and make the 2000 happen for yourself. So make sure you're really smart about it. Make sure you have a lot of cash flow. Do not buy anything that does not cash flow, especially right now, because you will lose equity. Like the house you're buying today, guys, 100% will go down in value in the next 60 days to 90 days, like guaranteed. So if you're going to hold it on for a longer time than 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, I would say 5-year hold, it's fine, but make sure you cash flow. Otherwise, you're going to get wiped out. Do you have anything bad, guys, for that? Does it make sense?
I think it's so important to talk about this because I get so many questions about like, what about the economy? And I say, guys, I look at the economy. Like before I invested in real estate, I thought long and hard about it. I was actually heavily in the stock market before I got into real estate because I've always wanted to have a way out of the 9 to 5. So I've always been interested in investing. And I saw real estate as the best way to build wealth because even in 2008, just like you're saying, prices went down. So people started to get into trouble because they owed more on their house than the house was worth. But people that owned rental properties that cash flowed, they weren't in trouble because rents actually went up in 2008, 2009, 2010, steadied off a bit, and now they continue to go up. And so we're going to see rent continue to go up. So I don't necessarily care how much my house is worth. The other thing that I did that makes me even more conservative as an investor is I've never taken equity out of my properties. I think it's a great strategy. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. There's a lot of great investors that use HELOCs, home equity line of credits, and even lines of credit. Of course, you could do cash out refis, and they pull equity out of their properties. I think that's very smart because you can do that to grow your portfolio really quickly. And I've never done that because I want to get to a place where I have 60% of my property has equity. That's my goal because I'm a very conservative investor. Unlike you guys, I don't have a high earning W-2 job. I've gone full-time real estate. And so I tend to be really conservative.
Well, that's interesting. And so it sounds like your goal was essentially just to get a cash flow position stable enough to where you could just travel infinitely. Has that kind of always been the end goal? Because you're just like, you're a nomad for how long now? 4 years, 5 years?
It'll be 4 years next month.
I love that. That's so exciting to me. I was literally just having a drink last night. You can see it in my eyes with some friends, maybe one or two too many, but we were talking and, New Year's coming up and we're talking about what our plan for 2023 is. And I'm like, my plan is for you to not see me all year. Like I want to be going, like I want to see Spain. I love Austin. I want to revisit Nashville. I want to go to Chicago. I want to travel infinitely and just rent out this house on Furnish Finder and just book like you were saying, I was telling them, I'm booking a one-way ticket to Japan and I'll just figure it out, And so that's literally my plan. I'll have to come back, anytime that we have to furnish a new place or turn over a new place for sure.
Well, actually you don't. So I also own a company called Arya Design Services and we will furnish it for you.
Game over.
Done.
Yeah, but done.
So Arya, we will analyze your property to let you know. We'll analyze it as a long-term, medium-term, short-term. We'll let you know what strategy we recommend.
Nice.
Then we will furnish it for you. You can either buy our furnish list if you're a more DIY kind of person and just click all the links, add it to your cart, furnish it yourself. Mm-hmm. Or we can curate the design and you can have someone on the ground install it. Or our highest tier is that we'll do everything for you. We will fly out. We'll put it together. We'll write the listing description. We'll get you listed on Airbnb, Furnish Finder, set up with Hospitable, all the automated messages. We'll do it all for you.
Wow, that's awesome. Please
what
send
does it cost? $100,000?
No, we are actually incredibly reasonable. So if you do the all-in service, let's say you're doing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, our fee is $6,000 plus flights and a U-Haul. So usually we can do that for about $7,000. If you want the middle tier where we furnish it from afar and you do the install, our fee starts at $2,000.
Wow.
And if you want to buy our list, it's $99.
What is the list? What
the
list?
Furnish list. Every single item that you need to furnish your medium-term or short-term rental. Nice. It doesn't just tell you that you need spoons and sheets. That's obvious. It actually has the spoons we recommend, the sheets we recommend, everything.
Amazon links and stuff like that, or what?
Mm-hmm.
That's
we're PayPaling you right now as we speak.
Sending you
I'll drop a link.
$99,000 on my Venmo.
But then you guys, I have something even better for you. So what I want to see you do, Andrew, is come on one of my trips. So come travel with other real estate investors. The trip is a business expense.
Love it.
And I just announced to my wait list. So depending on when this podcast is going to air, we are going on an 8-day African safari, followed by an 8-day Mount Kilimanjaro hike.
That sounds so amazing. That's like all I want to do. You don't even know. When is this?
You can midtown rental the main house too. Make money while it's
on the
trip.
Yeah. That's 1,000.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
And the trip's a write-off.
Wow. Now, how's a trip a write-off though?
Well, it's a business trip.
It's a business trip. We're all real estate investors. We'll have some conversations, seminars, presentations on real estate while we're looking for lions.
I love it.
Everything we do from this point onwards in our lives, guys, is a write-off. Let's just be honest. Because we're always talking about business, right? That's what business people do.
Yeah.
This is our disclaimer. We are not CPAs or attorneys.
I know,
Please
right?
consult your CPA.
If you want to talk about the CPAs, listen to Amanda Horn, which was released last week.
Yep. Brandon Turner, CPA. Quick question, Sarah, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. For this year, I'm planning on, for the first time, filing my taxes in a way in which I'm a real estate professional, obviously looking to pay as little taxes as possible, which I will easily qualify for, of course. Are you doing the same or no?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I made enough money from my coaching, consulting, all these other things that I actually am now an S corp, and then I pay myself as a W-2. And so my CPA handles all of that. And so I definitely also qualify as a real estate professional. But I think the way that we have it set up, I didn't need to do that to get the deductions that I needed. But again, I'm not a CPA. I think having a CPA that understands real estate is a necessity, even if you own one door.
Yeah, I agree. Such a niche thing. It's such a different, like I was saying, even with the people that I know who invest, it's a different conversation. You're like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole different game for sure.
Yeah, that's a good, like, just to quickly point out for anyone listening, you got to find your team niche, like your real estate agent, like day one, find the real estate agent who, even if they don't invest, which would be nice, but someone who understands the language of investors, understands the goals and kind of what's happening. And again, what's interesting is even real estate investing is a whole different language compared to real estate sales.
Oh, yeah. You guys know that 5% of real estate agents own rental properties?
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I'm a real estate agent. I've been for maybe a year or two, and people are discovering me on this podcast and friends of mine and in the game, and they're walking up to me. And this happened 2 weeks ago. This lady who is a killer. She's like one of the top dogs in the office. Like, she does sales. She's got like the nice fur coats and the watches and the Louis Vuittons. She's awesome. I love her.
We
she's
need
such a badass
in LA.
Yeah, the whole thing. She's such a badass, but walks up to me and is like, "Hey, so I saw something you posted. I think I want to be a real estate investor." And for me, I'm like, "Wait, you're not already doing that? You're selling a product that you don't even buy yourself." I'm like, "Okay, let's do." Like, it continues to surprise me that most real estate agents are all about like cashing that check and then spending it on the Mercedes, and they're not thinking long term. It blows my mind to be that close to like the greatest game, and then it'd be like, "Nah, yeah, I'm good though." Like, it's crazy. But I find most of the time it's because people are scared, and maybe it's not even analysis paralysis. I find it's just like they know about it, but it's like overwhelming to them to even start. So what advice would you give them?
Andrew, we're chemically created to stay away from danger. Like, that's in our nature and our biology to like, oh, let's keep ourselves safe. Well, it's not safe to go buy a depreciating asset, which I think some people think real estate is. I think we all know that's not the case.
Right.
Also, then you have to rely on strangers, your tenants, who could, of course, be bad guys and never pay their rent, or you guys mentioned squatters. And so they're out to get us. And so I think it's a lot of people think like the world is out to get them. I call that scarcity mindset. And then one of the reasons that I think we like hanging out with real estate investors is because it's all about abundance. Like, there's enough deals for all of us to get rich through real estate. There's enough strategies for everyone to play the game. Yep. And there's enough of everything. Like, my entire life is all about abundance.
I love that. Mindset is huge. Yeah. And I always like asking these kind of questions. So obviously you probably assessed the risk. I know you went from like stock market to real estate. How did you overcome that fear? Because we all had it. We all were like, this is crazy. And then like, I remember taking my whole, like savings and dumping it in this triplex with this crazy Indian friend of mine. And
it was 20 grand.
Yeah. And totally. And just figuring it out. So I remember how much anxiety I had about that. But I have this barometer inside of me that is just way higher than I think most people's for some reason. I don't know what, but it's just a reality. Like, no, I need to be living this way. Like you, like I'm so in awe of like, you're just traveling infinitely. That's just like the coolest thing to me. And that's really what I want to be doing. At the same time, having a lot of cash flow to support that travel and not have to worry about having a nice expensive dinner in France or whatever it is. So what am I trying to say here?
Yeah.
Basically,
How did I get over the fear?
how'd you get over that fear?
I was scared. I'm still scared, you guys. Like I still buy stuff. I'm like, God, I really hope this is a good deal. Um, and so I analyzed it backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So my first deal it was a good deal, you guys, but it was not a slam dunk. I was like, maybe it's a flip, maybe it's a rental, maybe it's this. I didn't even know Burr. It was, by the way, guys, it was a Burr. I just didn't know. So that's why I still have equity in it. Um, and and I analyzed it backwards and forwards. Like even if it rented for like 70% of market rent, it still was going to cover my costs. And so that is where I got my confidence. And it's still where I get my confidence today. It's in the numbers. I analyze it backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. And I analyze worst case scenario. Like if it's vacant for an entire month, every single year, what happens? I'm constantly analyzing for worst case scenario. And so that's where I find my confidence. And I'm not a numbers person. I'm great at math, but that's not where I live. Clearly, I'm a people person. I like people. I love negotiating. I like the sales piece of it. Mm-hmm. But I found my peace in the numbers. And then I'm also the type of person, I actually got an amazing compliment from someone. He said he's the type of person that like dips his toe in the pool like 5 times before maybe like easing in. And he can already see that I'm the kind of person that like just runs and does a cannonball. And I said, yeah, that's true. So like when I made the decision to do real estate, like I was under contract within months. Like right. it was like, yeah, of course I'm doing this. Like it's a no-brainer way to build wealth. Then the other piece that has to be mentioned is that I house hacked my first deal. And so it was so little money. Like my down payment was less than $10,000.
Was that in Kansas City?
Yeah. I was living in Denver. Similar to you, I like wanted to get I wanted to get the heck out of Kansas. Like I wanted to get far, far away. I had a job in Germany. I had a job in Asia. And then I told you guys I followed Love to Texas. Then I followed him to Colorado. So I ended up in Colorado. So not that far from Kansas. But when I started getting interested in real estate investing, I didn't know what I know now. And I couldn't make the numbers work in Denver, which is laughable now. Man, imagine if I bought something in Denver in 2015. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'd finally have an appreciation property.
Sure. Yeah.
But I didn't know. I just didn't know. And I don't beat myself up over that either, because I ended up buying a deal that just works for me. It now cash flows $800 a month. It probably has $170,000 of equity in it. And here's the best part is this is in Prairie Village, Kansas. So like the epicenter of JOCO, Johnson County. And it's one of those houses where if I tear it down and I build a new build on it, I probably could walk away with $400,000. And so that's my end goal. My end goal is that eventually I'll tear that little house down and I'll build a brand new build. But until then, I like the $800 a month of cash flow.
Wow, that's awesome. So why would you tear it down and build it back up, though? I'm not quite following that.
Right now, it's a 1942 Cape Cod, like maybe 1,300 square foot. Okay. And it could sell in the 3s, like maybe low 3s. But if I build a new build, they're selling in the high 9s.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's interesting. And I'm always trying to encourage all my friends who are not in the game, not in the club, to get in the game. And the advice is fairly consistent with everybody that we've talked to at your level, from Amanda Hahn to whomever. And that is, you find comfort in the numbers. And that's really what it comes down to. But to take that a step backward, how did you learn to run those numbers? What tools are you using? How can you help my friend Sally to do it? Like, what can we tell her?
Oh yeah, guys, it was back of napkin math back then. Like now I have a fancy spreadsheet and I know things like CapEx, and you should have, maintenance and repairs reserves. I didn't know any of that back then. All I knew was I qualified for this much. I didn't want to be at the top of my qualification, so I wanted to spend less than that. So if I bought a house for 200,000, I could rent it out for 1,600, which was fine because my monthly payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance was about, I don't know, 1,300, 1,200. I was like, cool. I rent it out for 1,600. I owe 1,200. That's $400. I'm rich.
Nice.
Thankfully, it worked out better than that. I ended up renting it for 2,300 a month because that math was a little bit skewed when you take into account property management fees, vacancy, capex, maintenance, repairs. But it was very elementary math at the beginning. At the beginning, it was, I know that I can rent it for this, and my monthly payment is this. And worst case scenario, I could turn around and sell it.
Love it. So yeah, just like continue to see levels of like how I can make this work. That's great. I love that. That's the way I function as well. Have a plan A, B, C. That's really, really great. How much would you charge me friend discount for like a 1-hour coaching session?
Great question. If you go to my Instagram, I have a link. It's $289 for a one-off coaching call with me.
Sold.
And then if you love what I'm doing, I have mentees that stay with me for a whole year. That ranges anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 for the year. And we meet once a week, and it is so much fun. My mentees are crushing it and buying a lot of real estate and learning how to kind of bust through that fear of out-of-state investing. And then we celebrate by traveling.
Love it. Vince, I'm out. I'll see you next year.
Sounds good, man. I think you should do it. I had a question. Obviously, I always have questions.
Vince, I think your lights went off.
Oh,
there you are. Back. I like
so
the Christmas tree in the back, by the way. It's nice.
I know we're getting ready to go to a 5:00 Christmas church service.
Nice.
That's why I'm all dressed up.
You didn't dress up for us?
You dressed up for us, man?
Oh, dude, this is bad. I was going to ask you first. I wrote this one down. What do you recommend, or what do you usually spend per square feet to furnish the place, or per room or kitchen? You know.
Yeah, I have. I'm happy to send it over. I have like a breakdown per room. I really don't like the per square footage rule. I know some interior designers love that, but it so depends on, I mean, are we doing 2 living rooms and then are there rugs in every room? So I have it broken down. But for easy math, if you're looking to do a 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit, you're looking at about 6,300. And that's everything to furnish. That's not staging. That is like outfitting an entire kitchen, all the linens, all the coffee table books. I want my units to look really good. Obviously, Arya Design Services will help you do that if you want it. But you're looking at about 6,300. For a 2-bedroom, you're looking closer to 7,000 to 8,200. And this is not luxury Airbnbs. These are mostly medium-term rentals. They're more upscale than average, but these are not luxury. If you want luxury, you're going to spend a lot more than that. And then for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, traditional, like no fancy dining room, no outdoor space, you're looking at probably 12 to 15,000. And then what starts to make it really expensive is when we start looking at, is there like an additional playroom? Outdoor furniture is outrageously cost. That's when we start seeing, well, wait, I spent, $30,000 furnishing my Airbnb. And it's like, yeah, but you have a pool table and outdoor furniture and a rug in every single room.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Just we will be heavily in midterm or medium term rentals in the coming few months. We're going to be transitioning out of some of short terms because of restrictions, like you said, and then some long-term rentals as it comes up. I wanted to pivot a little bit. I know we're running out of time. I wanted to ask you, why are you so famous on Instagram, and how did you do it?
I didn't know I was famous. Thank you.
You got what do you got? Like 10, 20, 30,000 followers?
No, barely. I have 11,000. And it's all very new. Gosh, how did this happen?
Let me tell you real quick why I asked you the question. We have, I don't know, $7, $8 million under management, probably like 50 houses. I have 400 followers.
Man, that's a really good question. I made it a priority. So I like set a follower goal. Actually this time last December, I went to a goal setting retreat. Now I run goal setting retreats. I'm actually headed to host a goal setting retreat in Antigua, Guatemala. So it's a really cool place to plan your goals. And I had a follower goal. So I made it really clear what I wanted. And then I hired someone. I hired a virtual assistant who engages with certain profiles every other day by commenting, responding. I answer every single DM, and it is me answering you. I answer every DM. And what else did I do? I've been on a lot of podcasts. Been a guest on a lot of podcasts.
Your VA?
I pay her, I believe, $8 an hour.
That's not bad. Yeah, we just hiring someone for social media. We have Brandon, you've met him a little bit, but also have a girl from Philippines too. So she's kind of going to take over the social media aspect because that seems very important. Like that's really that's really cool. So, and then you got in touch with Bigger Pockets and stuff, and then they got you on their podcast. That should have helped too, right?
Yep. I was on the Bigger Pockets podcast after I had the book deal, but we weren't talking about the book yet because I was in the middle of writing the book. And so was on that podcast in January 2022. And that obviously helped or upped my following. And then I spoke at a lot of conferences this year. I think I attended 8 conferences and spoke at least half of them.
Did you speak at those conferences? Did you get those gigs because you wrote the book?
No, I worked on building relationships with people, really kind of marketing myself as like someone that does out of state investing. I think that people are really interested in the fact that I lived in New Zealand when I bought that fourplex I was talking about that I house hacked. When I bought my second property in Missouri, I was living in Mexico. And so I think people are really interested in like, wait a minute, how did you travel the world and buy real estate in the Midwest? And so I speak mostly on that. And then the book was published a month ago. And so I just started talking about medium-term rentals when the book came out. That
is so cool. Yeah. We'll definitely send us your link so we could do the 1 hour with you and then we'll get some spreadsheet you had for like $100 or something. So that'll help us. Yeah, because Drew does most of the operations for our company. And I think it'll help him out a lot to kind of just chat with you one-on-one. And then anybody who's listening too, if you guys are trying to get in, I always tell people, if you're trying to get into the game and you're like at the last second, you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Just spend the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and just talk to someone who knows what they're doing. And then just get into the game. Like, don't be wasting time, I'm super into that.
I feel the exact same way. There's someone smarter than me that gave the analogy. If you can get on a call with someone and they'll tell you exactly what to do, that's like taking the elevator to the penthouse. Because like personality, like most of us, we're ambitious and driven. So I'm going to make it to the top no matter what. But I'm going to have to take the stairs. I'm going to get exhausted. It's going to take me 10 times as long. And I might not actually make it to the penthouse. I might say, okay, the 20th floor is good enough. And then I might lay down and take a nap. And so with stuff like this, like get a mentor or join a mastermind. And it by no means does it have to be my program. I mean, join someone whose program is aligned with your goals. Like if you want to be an absolute rock star with short-term rentals, well then join, Host Camp with Rob. If you want to be an amazing flipper, then join, I don't
know. No, she got out. Lost our internet for sure. One, for all the people who are listening, one disadvantage of being in New Zealand probably is your internet connection.
Yeah. As a short-term rental host with 5 units now, I think the Wi-Fi message comes up more than anything. Hey, what's your Wi-Fi? Which it's on the listing, but like you got to have that Wi-Fi ready to go. And now Airbnb has done this thing where Wi-Fi is so important that they're now like saying, cool, what's your internet speed? And
That's
so
cool.
like literally you'll open up the app and you'll hit some button and you're just like, I stand next to like, obviously the router, and it just like does this thing where like, and it just basically like gives me a number of like what my speed is. And then it locks that in, and that's part of the listing as it's advertised. So.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes, but oh yeah, there she is. She's back on.
We were just talking about Wi-Fi.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Nice.
Sorry, guys.
No worries.
That's the other thing is when it comes to social media, tag everyone.
Mhm.
Like I have friends now who they have 30,000 followers. I think one of them has 90,000 followers, and them tagging me and stuff would get me so many followers.
Help us, Sarah. We have 450.
I would joke with my friend Sarah. She's a Nerd's Guide to FI. I'm like, I only hang out with you because it gets me more followers.
Oh, we'll do that too.
But now Sarah calls me her conference wife. Normally I'm not friends with other extroverts because it's like too much in the same room. All of my friends are introverts, but Sarah's like one extrovert that is very special to me, and we have a lot of fun.
2 Sarahs, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily better than one. So if you see us at a conference, maybe walk the other way.
Nice.
We'll make you take shots.
Do you, for people who are like starting off or like you've been in the game like us a little bit, do you recommend us writing books, starting mentorships, and things of such nature? And masterminds?
It is only for certain types of personalities. If you don't love people, don't start a mastermind, because people are going to require so much from you. They are going to have so many questions. They're going to be so stuck in their head. They're going to tell you one week that they want to do flips, the next week that they want to do short-term rentals, and then the next week that they want to burr. And so you have to have a lot of patience, which is interesting because I don't have patience, but I love people. Like I truly freaking love people. And so like yesterday I was on the phone with someone. I had to turn my video off because I started freaking crying because I was just so touched because she has grown so much as an investor and as a person. I was like getting emotional because I'm just so stinking proud of her. And so if you feel the same way, if you're hearing this and you're nodding and you're like, yeah, that's how I feel, I love helping people, then yes, I think running a mentorship or a coaching program is an excellent way to have active income. But if you don't like people and you're not patient with people, then no. Like, I don't want to see another coach out there that doesn't actually like people.
Right. So sorry, Vince. You can't do it.
I am like the worst in terms of like, if I'm talking to you, I'm probably going to call you an idiot in like 10 minutes, like straight up. Like if you're like doing something stupid, And then Drew's like coming from the other room, like, no, he's just kidding, He's like trying to save everything all the time.
Maybe that's the dynamic though. Like, they know, like you want to feel good about what you're doing and your accomplishments, even if you have one thing happening. Talk to Drew. If you want to get your face caved in, if that's the way that you need your coaching, that's a Vince call.
Well, I do think it's important. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything. Like, I tell people what they need to hear because that's what you need in a mentor. You need them to call you out on your stuff and repeat back to you what you've said to them. Like, if you're telling me, Sarah, I want to travel, and I check in with you in 6 months and you haven't left your home. And so you do need someone to call you out on your stuff. You also asked about writing a book. And if you have a story to tell, which I think most people do, write a book. Like, there are so many good things that come from writing a book, even if it doesn't sell. It's really cathartic to write. And so I really encourage people to write a book. If you have no desire to write and you hate writing, then hire a ghostwriter or don't write a book. But I definitely, for me, I love writing. I was a journalism major. I write in my journal regularly. I used to have a blog, believe it or not. I had a travel blog. Don't try to look for it. It's not out there anymore. But I really, really like travel. I really, really like writing.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking if Drew ghostwrites my book, but he's in half the book, is that really ghostwriting at this point?
I think it's just co-author. He just he co-authored.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. We'll do something. It'll be fun. But cool. Any last questions, Drew? We got to wrap it up.
No, I'm good, man. I mean, I've got a lot of value out of this conversation. Had a lot of fun. It was great meeting you, Sarah. How can people find you and connect with you and all that?
Absolutely. Reach out to me on Instagram. According to them, I'm famous. So it's Sarah D. Weaver. I really do read my DMs. So if I said anything on this podcast that interests you or you have any questions, please reach out to me. I love hearing from you guys. And then my website has everything. So if you guys are interested in Arya Design Services, going on a trip with Invested Adventures, or my mentorship program, all of that is on my website, which is also sarahdweaver.com. All right. Thank you both.
Great meeting you.
You too. Bye, guys. Thank you.